again, and we're in a different room, still in Salisbury Centre, where Imogen Rose does classes from. And we're talking about holistic improvement. That's just kind of wrapping up short video just to see a little bit more about the practical stuff. So we thought it would be good if we tell you more about what people who take part in those practices or classes or exercises who commit to that journey, what they can expect on a practical level.
So I'm trying to think how to kind of simplify it. When new people come to the sessions that I run, I try to kind of cover the basics as much as possible. And when I say the basics, I don't mean like this is the bottom level and you get to a high level. Like there are different levels to some degree, but ultimately the way that I approach eyesight improvement is that I'm trying to change habits. So it's not, I think it's easy when you start looking into it to think that it's like eye exercises. And for me, that terminology doesn't work, because the idea of eye exercises, one, it's quite physical, so it's not taking into account all the different dimensions of healing that need to happen, but also it implies tension to me. So when you're exercising, you're like trying and striving. Not everybody will read it that way, but a huge part of vision improvement is relaxation. And it is possible to move the body with relaxation. But to me, the word exercise implies striving and trying, and striving and trying are the enemies of eyesight improvement, especially because the eyes, actually, when they're working perfectly, should be quite passive, in the same sense that most people, they don't need to try to hear things. The sound information just comes into your body and you decode it, and you don't have to think about that process. Yeah, you're receiving this information and you don't have to think about it at all. So that's kind of where we're aiming to get to with the eyesight improvement, or it's where I'm aiming to get to, where the eyes, as they once were for me, become a passive organ and they're just receiving light information, and I no longer am having to have like a conscious reaction to whether I can or cannot see something. Of course we're going to react to things that we see, but the actual information coming in should be effortless. So that's something that I feel is quite important to say. And then other very important things is movement. So another sort of key fact to know is that in healthy eyes that are seeing perfectly, they're never ever still. And what I mean by that is not that they're like constantly like this, but that there's a very, very rapid movement called saccadic eye movement, which happens that I think if you train to observe it, you're able to observe it, but most of us can't observe that. And it's something that happens when we're relaxed. So it's not something that we can actually control or think about. It's just something that happens in response to our mental relaxation state. And the reason that the eyes have to move so rapidly, so it's like many, many times a second, is because in order to see things clearly, the central focus point of the eye, which is actually very small, has to constantly be moving. So I'm trying to think of a good analogy to describe this.
I think you've described it well, but the question that comes is, does it stop moving when we wear lenses or glasses, or is it more stiff?
I think, I'm not sure the exact sort of biomechanics of it, but I think it moves less. I don't think it's necessarily that it stops. But when we stare at something, there's a difference between staring and gazing. So you can gaze out the window and you might not be aware of it, but your eyes are kind of moving over things and it's relaxed. Gazing to me sounds relaxed. Staring is like, you know what we're saying, like, look at the blackboard, what do you see? You need to give the right answer. There's a strain there and you're kind of staring, or people often stare at screens.
Right, when we later on cannot see something in adult life, we sometimes criticize ourselves. Oh, you should be able to see it.
Yeah,
or you need to go to the optician. There's a lot of that.
Exactly. This
try.
Staring to me implies that it's static. So often we're staring at screens. Not everybody stares at screens, but it's easy to stare at a screen. And there was something quite key that I wanted to say. Yeah, so staring is actually when I would define staring in this context is when your eyes are like still on a point and your mind went somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So your attention is not aligned with what you're looking
You're
at
not
anymore.
present with what you
Yeah,
see.
you parked your eyes somewhere and you went somewhere else. And we all learn to do this in school, right? Because we have to look at the blackboard and pay attention.
And people just
And then the brain just goes somewhere else.
Yeah, but we do it even when people do it when they drive. People
Yeah,
do
when
it
you drive,
when making
if someone's
breakfast.
talking to you and you're bored of it.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're not here, basically, you're not here. Yeah.
So the more that we're staring, the more static our eyes are, the worse the vision gets. And with most people, you can demonstrate this very easily by looking at something that you do see clearly and trying to keep your eyes still for as long as possible. It will become very, very uncomfortable. So it's the natural state of the eyes to be moving. So movement on that basic level, but also the ability to perceive objects moving relative to us. So I try to, and it's something that I work with a lot that helps my vision. It's just like what you could even do right now if you're listening. Just like have a very gentle sway. It could just be your head or it could be your whole body. And see if you can perceive that the objects around you, your peripheral vision, appear like they're moving. So as you move your head one way, for me, for example, if I'm moving my head to the left, it looks like my foot moves a little bit to the right. And then I move my head to the right and my leg is moving a little bit to the left. And this kind of feeling of movement that's happening all the time. So obviously my leg's not actually moving, or not that much, but it's moving relative to where my gaze is.
There's a lot of noticing.
Relative movement.
So we notice how the eyes actually work, not by learning about it from book, but actually by experiencing it, by paying attention.
Yeah.
So we do it and I'm saying from experience from classes of Imogen, because we did those practices here in the room where we were a second ago, and in the garden, which is beautiful and supportive environment for those practices. And we learn how to pay attention and be present and breathe and relax. And a lot of stuff comes out that's not to do only with the vision for me personally, but definitely I can say that my eyes are better, they're healthier, I feel more relaxed already, I have bigger, I can look, I think it's very holistic, it's not only about eyesight, but in terms of improvement, and if somebody's really big on it, could you tell us before we're gonna wrap our session, what are the experiences of people you've met, maybe during your classes or from the course that you do with your teacher? What was her name again? Gloria from States. Met many people who are doing those practices and your own practice. What actually can one expect as a result? If somebody is focused a bit this way, like I actually want to have better vision, what can happen?
So there's a lot of variation and people experience it in all sorts of different ways. Some people, like, they might have a moment of a clarity straight away when they start a practice, and some people it takes longer. I think it's better not to focus on why those things happen. I mean, it can be nice to explore the why, but I think if you're really focused on wanting to just improve your vision, the how is actually more important to focus on, because when we get stuck in the why, sometimes it can feel like, you know, you kind of go into your head again. You're like, oh, but why am I this way? Why did this happen? And that's different to actually just doing the practice, which is, you know, like focusing attention, noticing movement, finding ways to relax and be at peace. So I think what to expect is a tricky one, but I would say maybe what I would recommend, rather than what to expect actually, is start with the basics. Start in conditions that you feel comfortable in. So like if that's in your house and it's a sunny day, or it's in your garden, or just somewhere you feel safe to practice, because it can feel very, very vulnerable in the beginning, very, very vulnerable. And then secondly, find other people that you can talk to about it, find people that know about it, find teachers. and it's gonna what I would say as well is like sometimes it's gonna be hard and you might want to give up. So figuring
it's a journey.
and chances are, depending on the reasons why this problem occurred for you in the first place, chances are you're going to end up in all sorts of different places than you originally thought. So that happened for me. I've ended up learning about and exploring loads and loads of different things that I never ever would have imagined.
Because it's part of
just
our
to find
selves.
answers.
Yeah, it's part of ourselves. So we're really starting by focusing on something we never paid attention to because we've accepted it's normal to wear those lenses and glasses and not to see. Yeah,
it's very challenging to the ego to like decide to do this.
It's almost like telling ourselves something that was told to me when I was a child. Perhaps it's not exactly the truth, or I want to explore if it's my truth from the adult perspective when I take responsibility for my health, myself, and for my life, really, because
taking responsibility.
There is a thing,
That's really important to mention just before we finish. And sorry, I just remembered something I also really want to say, which I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I just put in the latest newsletter that I sent out, which is figure out why you want to do it. So it doesn't really matter what the reason is, but figure out why and have that as your motivation, because when it is going to get hard and you might feel like giving up.
Why you mean the purpose of it? Because
why do you want to improve?
So what's the purpose? We said, just to clarify, you said it doesn't matter what's the reason, it's important why. What do you mean by this?
What I mean is, for each person, like, the reason that's motivating them to improve their vision or to heal anything or do anything in your life, like, to me, it doesn't matter what your reason is. But what matters is that if you really want to commit to it, to this journey, that why needs to be really clear, and it needs to be something that feels like in integrity for you, if that makes sense. So if it's coming from a place of I think I should or someone else wants me to, it's not going to be motivating enough to get you through it. So if you are clear about why you want it, then when things are getting hard and maybe you're not seeing progress, which is totally normal, like plateaus are really normal. Usually it's a time for the system to like adjust to changes that have already happened. Plateaus are completely normal, but can be really frustrating. And when that's happening, like if you can remember your why, then it can be really helpful to motivate you to keep going and not give up.
It's like intention rather than goal, isn't it? Like it's vaster. It's also more gentle. Yeah. It can be even a reason like that we want to see something, understand something, and we want to come back to that child that have lost that eyes as our, we can call it inner child, or that time of our life. It can be also, I guess, really surely getting a smaller prescription, right? But that doesn't have to be your main goal. It can be, people might come to the sessions for many different reasons.
Yeah, you might just be experimenting.
Exploring, yeah. So, Imogen, can you tell us how to find you, how to find your classes?
So at the moment I'm running sessions at the Salisbury Centre, which is where we're sitting.
Scotland.
In Edinburgh, in Scotland. So I think their website, you probably just...
You can find them on the website, you can just... And we're going to post a link in the description as well.
Yeah, so you'll find a link to any sessions that are coming up there if you happen to be in the area. And then I also... My email's there, and I send out a newsletter every month or so with just like some resources that maybe I've been looking at or that I think could be helpful, and any thoughts that I've been having about eyesight in general or my own experiences. So we could put my email in the description for that. And then I also have an Instagram, which I sort of sporadically use. It's vision.is.alive.
We're going to put all that information in the description,
It's kind of similar, like I just make little clips or videos or posts about vision improvement and my take on it and my journey. Because I'm still on the journey. I'm not at the stage of having continuous perfect sight, which, to be honest, nobody is. But it's even people with perfect sight have moments where there's...
That is actually a very interesting topic that we didn't have a chance to cover. That perhaps naturally our vision changes throughout the day and week, and that is most healthy, but that is of course not the mainstream understanding nowadays.
And we often, if someone has perfect sight, it's more about the ability to shift into the mindset of perfect sight. So if they have a day where their sight is not that great, they're able to bounce back from that. So they're not getting stuck there. I think that's more what defines.
I think there's so many things that we could talk about in here, and it's
we're kind of going into a whole other thing, and the whole responsibility thing is like a whole topic as well.
We'll see. Maybe in a year or two, decide to meet again and speak more from the. I mean, I've been on that journey only for half a year, right? You've been for much longer than me, but. Thank you for watching us. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share your experience, ask us questions, and we can find Imogen's classes in Salisbury Centre, as well as sign up to her newsletter and explore that topic. And thank you for being here. All the best. Take care.
Bye.